G'day fellas, and welcome to another Beyond All Reason guide. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the map Supreme Strait, and we're going to be taking a look at a build order where you can get an APHIS in under 10 minutes. That is correct. Now, it is exclusively that I've been able to do it on this map. I'm sure you could probably do it on other maps, but the key here is that you need to have a very close access to a geothermal power vent, which is what we've got down here in this spawn. So on the south side, it's on this spawn. On the north side, it is on this spawn. You can't do this from the other spots, just simply because we need to position our mexes, or rather our nanos, in a certain way. So that's the construction turrets. So, as always, this video will be in two parts. The first part is going to be me just playing by myself, demonstrating the build order, and then the second part will be it in an actual game up against some pretty decent players. So let's take a look at it and begin how we start. So first and foremost, always starting off with a metal extractor. On this map, we play it a little bit differently. We don't actually go into solar on this map, just simply because the wind is a lot better. You've got a lot of higher averages, and because of that, it just makes more sense to go wind. So instead of going for mex opening, and then that's going to leave you a little bit short of energy, we're going to drop down the wind turbine first, just because that will help us support the mex. Now, one of the things that we're going to be really careful of is just our geothermal vent. It explodes like crazy. So one of the things that I've done early on is I've already begun building my base around that, and I made sure that my metal extractors are as close as possible away, or rather as far away as possible as I can. Next up, what we're looking at right here, I might pause it because this is where it gets a little bit sketchy here. So what we're doing is we're going from the 3 mexes into 4 wind turbines and then going into our bot lab. But we don't want to go into that 4th wind turbine if wind is going really well. Ideally, we want to hit about 65 energy, and we don't really want to go above that because we don't want to hit that surplus, and the sooner that we get our bot lab out, the better. So what we're looking for here is whether the energy is going up, whether the energy is going down, and if it starts to go down, then that means that we will add in a 5th windmill before we add in our bot lab. But it wasn't going to, it was kind of just chilling out. Now it's hit full max, and at this point it's like, well, there's nothing you can really do if you've dropped down the 4th one, and I think it's probably the safe bet. So look, if you're wanting to just play it out safe, just go with 4 windmills. If you do store on your energy, then by all means add in a 5th, add in a 6th before you go for that first bot lab. It's a bit of a gamble. Now with the bot lab, we're opening it up with 1 Lazarus into 2 construction bots, followed up with a 2nd Lazarus. And what we're going to do is, you can see we're very careful with how we position all of the buildings around our commander, making sure that our commander does not move. With our first Lazarus, we're going to take him over to the rocks here. We want to grab these rocks specifically. We want to avoid the trees for the moment, and we're just going to try and pick up as many as we can. In most games, people will kind of ignore them. I mean, it depends how good the people that you are that are playing with it, but I seem to be able to pick up most of them. So now with our construction unit, we want to make sure that we don't block our next one. And I guess this is a small detail, but this is something that it requires quite a bit of skill. You are going to be juggling your energy in the early game. You really need to avoid running into excess. If we take a look right now, I've got 314 excess, which is a lot. So there are ways that you can mitigate that. So number 1 is you can drop down your energy storage earlier because it takes quite a bit of energy. Number 2 is you can boost your bot lab. So by boosting your bot lab, that's going to use a huge amount of energy. So as soon as you see your energy sort of powering up there, just hit that bot and just go, okay, I'm gonna help you out for a little bit. Of course, the next way is that you can boost up your construction turret, which I've heard people call them nanos. So I've kind of picked that up because it just makes it much easier to say. So our first construction turret. So before we go any further, I just want to apologize for all the pauses that are inevitably going to be coming through in this video. We want to divide our base up in 2 parts. The first part are these 3 mexes. The second part is this mex together with this geo, and we need to think about that and make sure that we keep them separate, but at the same time we still need to find a connection between them, and that's what these construction turrets are going to do. So we're going to look to bridge the gap here with a 2nd construction turret between it, so that we're able to build both of these 2 buildings, because we want to be making sure that we are building our advanced metal collector down here as well as our advanced geo. So back over towards the base, we're pumping out that first nano, or that first construction turret. A little bit of idle time here for my commander, definitely not optimal, but even with this idle time, and you can see that's like 7 seconds of idle time. That's like two wind turbines right there that I just idled. And we still do this in sub 10 minutes. So I'm telling you, I reckon I could probably get this down to 9:30. But I said, you know what, I'm pretty happy with this. This was my goal, to get a solo sub 10 APHIS, but we do need to use the geo to do it. So it's a little bit of a meme. But it's a nice build order. Now, I guess another thing that I should probably mention, and I'm just going to pause this quickly because this is something that is definitely for another video. Every single spot on this map has a different role. Every single spot. So normally one of these two guys is going to be eco, the other guy is going to be air. This guy over here is going to be challenging water, but he's going to have, or rather not challenging water, but taking water early and be looking to put on pressure out here. This guy over here is going to be defending water and then looking to try and take it back because he's got a less advantageous spawn to take the water because he spawns over here. These two guys here are on the front. They control this area, and typically these ones are kind of like your flex. I've seen this guy eco before. I've seen this guy go air before, so you've had double air. I've seen these guys go hovers. I've seen this guy quick tech into they used to be called crocs back in TA, but now they're just the amphibious tanks. There's lots of different things that you can do from these spots. So one of the things that I'm doing from this spot is to go very, very quick eco straight into the Aphis, and I'm sure you're going to like what happens in the second game that we play. So I'll leave that one for you guys a little bit later. So we're going to be dropping down our third construction turret, and you can see that these guys are in range. So we're making sure that we're trying to maximize as much as possible that these guys are in range of things. So we've got all three. We've got the two metal extractors as well as the geothermal power plant. We want to avoid building anything important near the geothermal power plant. And when it explodes, I'm not kidding you, it does damage all the way up to here. So this line right here is like a giant divide. Do not build anything past here if you're serious about keeping it. Obviously, the bot lab, we're going to reclaim all of this stuff, so I'm not too fussed about it. So we do stall out on our metal for a little bit here on the end of the geo, which is probably my mistake for making this construction turret, because once you get this geo up, your energy is going to go absolutely crazy. You can see right there, it's up to 300 energy. So straight away, just throwing down a whole bunch of energy converters. And the reason why we do this, you don't want to front load energy converters. You want to build them reactively, is because you want that energy to stockpile. Because if that energy, if your wind goes dead at the same time and you've been building up all of these energy converters, you're going to fall flat on your face because you're going to have no energy. Imagine right now if our energy or our wind dropped down to 1, it would be terrible. So now we've picked up our bot lab, and now we're going to be dropping down our advanced bot lab. The commander, Mr. Drongo, he's going to be heading down towards this south side and going to be exploding. I haven't really found a spot where you can explode that doesn't cause fire on the surrounding areas. Back in TA, that used to reduce the energy from these trees. I don't know what it does now. I guess it looks like it just kind of burns them down. It used to spread back in TA as well. They were the good times. All right, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still we're still in the good times. We're still in the good times. They were the olden days. Let's just say that much. So once again, it's always the same MO with our advanced bot lab. We want to make sure that we do things in order. So number one, we need to get out all of our con turrets. Number two is we want to get our storage. Number three, we want to make sure our advanced bot is out, ready to be built. And then number 4 or 5, I can't remember what number we're up to, we want to reclaim that lab as quickly as possible. We want to pump all that metal out into other things, and you can see we're really going quite crazy with the construction turrets here. So there we go. You see the metal storage going to be dropped down, already coming back. And one of the things to note is you can always get a start on reclaiming. Don't be too fussed about this. You can always bring in your Lazarus immediately after your commander comes in. So now we've got all of our things up, and we're already starting to reclaim. Keep in mind, we don't have our metal storage finished just yet, but it will be finished by the time it happens. There we go. Now metal storage is in, so we're ready to go. We're going to front load on to our very first advanced metal extractor at 5 minutes 30, so very early timing here. This is incredibly early. And then we come out, we hit the geo, and now keep in mind, we're tapping things with our advanced construction bot. That's it. We come in, we tap it, we let the construction turrets take over, and then we move on to our next task. Keep in mind, our Lazaruses have, I don't know, what's the plural of Lazarus? In fact, I've got one Lazarus. Where's the second one? Up there. These guys are just collecting energy the whole time. There are rocks along the shoreline and towards the middle. You're not going to get the ones in the middle. Normally the ones along the shoreline will be given over to the water guy, or will be taken by the water guy. But sometimes you will find them, so by all means, go and take them where you possibly can. So we've got 3 construction turrets building on the advanced geothermal, and once again, we're tapping in all of these. We do a couple of cute little things as well, like we have a little bit of downtime up here, so I think we threw down another construction turret, but we're just keeping them alive by doing this. And so with that, our main focus here is to begin building our base over towards this west side. We want to completely avoid this. If this thing explodes, you lose everything. There's no discussion about it. I've gotten to the point where I'm actually starting to reclaim these after I don't need them. After about the second Aphis, I'm just like, you know what? Just get rid of it. It's too much of a hazard, and I need the space. So once again, we've tapped all of our advanced metal extractors. So we've got 3. That's our 4th one. And those are all our mines that we get. You know, everybody's got 4 mines. You've got 3, 4, 3, 4. You've got additional ones that you can take there, but there you've got the 3rd and the 4th, the 3rd and the 4th. So everyone's got 4 that they can take. And so now that we've taken that 4th one and we've got it up by almost 7 minutes, we have almost completed that. We're going to start producing an advanced energy converter. This is really important to get online as well. Every second this is up, this is 10 extra metal that's in your back pocket, so you want to try and get this as soon as you possibly can. And then, of course, we start the APHIS. And I'm not sure if you guys saw, but I just did a little bit of a reclaim right here, just because we want to put the APHIS down to the west of this line here. That is the very the furthest you want to be going. So now that we've got the APHIS beginning production, our metal is going to be starting to exhaust, but you can see it's still a very slow exhaust on this. And keep in mind, we're going to be reclaiming as well, which is going to be pumping that up. So we want to make sure that when our APHIS finishes, we have 0 metal, both in the bank, but also on the field. So think about that for a second. So that means 0 metal in our wind turbine, 0 metal in our energy storage. It means we've eaten everything that we can. Obviously, we don't want to eat our metal extractors. We don't want to eat our energy converters or even our basic energy converters. So there'll be some games that I play where I actually eat my construction bot. I eat my Lazarus. I'm like, hey, come here. Just by eating you, it's going to get me that APHIS up like 3 seconds faster. So I might as well just do it. It's a cruel world out there. Not a good time to be a construction bot. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, at this point, this is your sub 10-minute APHIS. Looks easy in practice, right? Well, let's speed up through it. Now, keep in mind, you've always got those branches. I often talk about branches that you can do when you take your foot off the pedal. What do you do, or when do you do it? So once you finish the APHIS is a great time to take your foot off the pedal. On top of that, once you've finished your advanced geothermal, that is another good time that you can take your foot off the pedal. But for me in this game, so let's speed it up. We'll just 10x it quite a bit right now. And you can see we are just making sure that we are preparing for when this APHIS comes up. So 3, hold on a minute, there we go. Sometimes it goes a little bit crazy and it starts spinning, boom, and there you go, 9:53, the APHIS comes up, and now we are just eating everything. So the most important thing is we want to start getting down our construction turrets, and we want to start getting down our energy converters as quickly as we possibly can, because we're going to be hitting a surplus. Our whole team's going to be enjoying this, and we want to try and get that metal in as quickly as we can. Once we've got that metal in, that's where we can choose, okay, do we want to keep booming, or do we want to do something a little bit crazier? So we're just going to keep booming here, and I will demonstrate now. I think this guy will explode in just a little bit, just to demonstrate just how long range this thing is. Let's see if we can spot it. Oh, actually, I think I throw out the gantry first. So I do like a 2 APHIS on this build, 2 APHIS into the energy, and you can see right now, so we're 14 minutes through the game, and as I said, like it all comes down to taking your foot off the brake and putting it on, because you ideally want to keep going as fast or as far as long as you can, but from this point we've got the gantry down, and that's all it. We're going to make some units. That's nothing too crazy, but we've made our base completely away from this geo. This geo just sits here, but you will need space later on. So you can see we've got the APHIS over on this side, so there will be expansion that comes out over here, so you will need to reclaim that bad boy. So don't do that. I think the Control D is coming through any second now. Come on, give it to me. Where is it? Where they at? There we go. All right, check it out. Boom. You're always going to lose that one, but you can see even these guys copped damage, so it is just like it is very, very close. There we go. So end of demo has been reached. That's our first one. So let's jump out of this. Let's leave that game, and let's take a look at the game that I recently played. So we played a game. I played a game not too long ago. I figured, you know what, let's just jump into that game. Look, the game didn't go perfectly, I'll say that much, but I think it's still a decent demonstration of it in a real world environment, because at the end of the day, you've got to remember that you're playing with other players and things aren't always going to go your way, and it's your job to try and make sure that if things aren't going your way, do what you can to influence the outcome, because at the end, if you just keep focusing on your goal of oh, excuse me, I just smacked my mic. If your goal is just I'm eco, all that's going to happen is you're going to get eaten alive. So I'm on the other side of the map. I'm up over here. So let's take a look. So in this game, I'm playing with some pretty good people. So you can see we've got Vodka on our team, who is currently 49. So we're expecting big things from Vodka today. And we've also got, over on the enemy team, we've got Fatal Baguette, who is, I'm sure, going to be putting out some good things. You know what? I can tell you they're going to be putting out some good things. So once again, we're just going to be going through. Now, we talked earlier about the fact that there are different roles for different positions on this map. So we've got Vodka, who's over here. He's going to be going for an early lab and then eventually moving to take the C. He's going to be trying his best to take the C. He can choose whether he wants to take it from here or take it from here. Whereas over on this side, we've got TNT. TNT is going to be taking the C quite early because of his proximity to it. And this is going to give him a natural advantage. You can also see he's got the metal extractors right here in front of his base as well, which obviously gives him a huge advantage. And it's very much about... you know, the team on the south has got the advantage on the south water, and the team on the north has got the advantage on the north water, and whether you can overcome that. When it comes to the front, typically these two guys are going to be the guys that are looking to hold the line, push through, and everyone's expected to play their part, play their role, and you've got these two kind of flexible positions here. At least that's what I've gathered from it. On the back line, we've got our guy doing air, and then we've got our gentleman over here who is going to be doing our eco. So that's essentially it. So, back towards the base. Everything's going well for us over here. We are continuing our expansion. We're throwing down our construction turrets. And I will say that every game that I play of Beyond All Reason, I feel like I am learning significantly. And I learned a lot from this game. And you guys will probably learn some things as well. First and foremost, I'll tell you now, we go straight into the gantry. It is probably the fastest gantry I've ever possibly done. I think that you could probably go the gantry just off Geo, but I don't think it's going to have the same oomph. And what do I mean by oomph? It doesn't have the same tempo, right? Like if you've got one Marauder coming out every 30 seconds, that's okay. But if you've got one Marauder coming out every 10 seconds, well, now we're talking. So that's where I kind of like to draw the difference. So we're going into our advanced bot lab. We're at 4 minutes, so this is a pretty early bot lab, and we are getting pressured. So I think, yeah, up towards this top side, some hovers got through, and this is where it comes back down to the flex position. So this is Mortex. So he's over here. So he's made some hovers and managed to squeeze them in over on this side. So I don't really know whose job it is. Maybe it was my job. Maybe I should have had a radar here. Maybe I should have been going hovers. You know, I don't really know enough about that yet. What I do know about though is I'm a madman and I'm booming like crazy right now, and I'm trying to do my best to carry from this position. So it looks like it finally gets cleaned up. TNT is fortunately still on the land despite taking the water at this stage, and we can see that his opponent is also looking to do it. But let's get back to the star of the show right here, the geothermal. So the geothermal is going to be a huge target throughout the game. So there's a part of me that thinks it might actually be worthwhile going into the Prude, I think it's called, where it basically doesn't have that big explosion because it just becomes such a huge target. But we've got our commanders that are exploding. Our nano is going to continue coming up. So we threw down 2 lasers here. Just to try and defend. We'll eat them later. And that's one thing that you've got to remember, right? Like, you can throw down these turrets in the early game, and you can always just reclaim them later. Always just be willing to reclaim things. If there's one thing I would tell you, it is just reclaim all the things, because you can always just reinvest those resources. And now we come through, we're going to be doing our tapping, so we just tap with our construction bot. Let's speed it up a little bit. This guy's a slow walker. And we hit our advanced geo. And now coming back down here onto the south side. And we'll tap that one as well. And let's talk a little bit about where we are in the game. What is the state of the game? So up on this front side, we've got a gauntlet. So back in the old day, this used to be called a Guardian, I think it was. Was it a Guardian? Punisher. The core was the Punisher, and the Guardian was the arm one. So he's gone for a gauntlet. This is kind of wild, right? Now, I'm not going to I'm not going to disparage anybody, but I'm just going to say it the way I see it. I wouldn't be going for a gauntlet here. I feel like you do not have anywhere near enough protection to justify throwing down a gauntlet right now. Like, you need probably like 3 to 4 more LLT, probably a GAT gun or 2, or what are they called? I think they're called Sentinels. Is that what they call them? Let me have a look here. Sentinels, Overwatch. So anyway, back towards our base. So we've reclaimed the T2 lab. We're continuing. We've just done the ring around. We've gone and visited the whole countryside, and we've got all 4 of our big mechs is in. But let's put it on a player view, because this is where it starts to get a little bit wonky. So we've thrown down our 4 advanced metal extractors. We're doing the energy converter right now. Let's speed it up a little bit, because once that energy converter comes down, you know what time it is. It's time for the APHIS, baby. Now, keep in mind, this is in a competitive environment here that we're managing to achieve this. So this is pretty decent, and we're going to speed it up. We're going to speed it up all the way through, and now we look towards the front. Now, once again, you've got 2 people that are on the front, but pink has now started helping out over here, which means that we've got our guy beginning to rally in units as well. So our blue flex player is going to be rallying in those units to try and help, but we are really struggling over here on this front. And I will provide a little bit of insight or a little bit of a spoiler. The front does fall. And the reality is, you can blame your teammates, and look, I'll be honest, in this game, I will blame teammates. I won't say it to them, but I can tell you right now, our purple guy gets absolutely destroyed by their air player, like unequivocally. It is just absolute destruction. The difference is insane. Now, obviously, you can see that the TS is quite different, 32 versus 25, but you will see how tangible that is very, very soon. But at the end of the day, it's your job to try and play around that. You've got to do the best that you can, and that's why when it comes to learning lessons, we've really got to try and be as reactive or receptive as we can to those things that we're taught. So I'll go through the lessons that I've learned at the end of this video, if I remember, because our APHIS is about to come up, and this is going to be, I think it's a sub 10-minute one coming through. Looks like it might be a little bit over. We may have misplayed. I've still got my energy storage here. You see, I haven't reclaimed all the things. Now I'm reclaiming my con turrets. Now keep in mind, you can always reclaim con turrets, because you got to think about it from the perspective of, well, if I've got the, if it takes, I'm just going to pause it just to explain it. If I've got 54 metal per second coming in, but my construction turrets do the equivalent of 97 metal per second, then only about half of them are online. So I can get rid of those half. Now, obviously, you don't want to get rid of all of them, but that's essentially it. So we come through APHIS in just after 10 minutes, so a little bit late. Obviously, we put down those LLTs, so that slows us down. I think that was pretty much about it. So now we're throwing down the advanced energy converters, and the front is really starting to fall at this point. We are getting pushed in, and this is where I'm like, okay, I can't put my foot on the accelerator any longer. I need to come online. And I think there's a part of me, because you guys will know that I love doing that T3 rush strategy. I think it's so much fun. But there's a part of me that thinks maybe it would have been the right call here not to go for T3, but to instead go for T2. And that's just simply because now you can see that once they're broken through, well, obviously you're going to be the next one to fall, aren't you? Now, fortunately, we're not going to be losing too much, because we've planned for this advanced geothermal, at least to any push that comes up here and attempts to hit that. But we're gonna be throwing down now. I just got to make sure I position this correctly, and you can see that the metal, at this point, you're going to be really careful about exhausting that metal when you're throwing down these. So I always just like to bring a couple of these, a couple of our construction turrets in just to help out with the gantry, just to help keep that metal down. And you want to still try and complete the AEC as quickly as possible. But now we're in real trouble. And this is where I'm like, yo, you got to cover. So at this point, the commander's going to be moving north, trying to cover this and looking for D guns. Because if he gets back into the eco, then it's pretty much all over Red Rover. A couple gunships going to come out here. And Vodka's calling me deaf at the moment. I don't know what he expects me to do. Does he not see I'm a giant boomer? But you know, this is the consequence of going for a strategy like this. Is you rely on your teammates. And once again, I don't want to blame. But you know, when you've got a fair 2v2 at the front here, you kind of think you hope at the very least for a stalemate, right? Like I'm not asking you to win. I just don't want you to lose. That's pretty much it. So it creates this sort of. It's a difficult situation, let's just put it that way, because you're not really in a position to help out. We're looking to repair up our geothermal, so pulling them off the experimental gantry. Now, if I'd gone into T2 here, I think that probably was the smarter play, just because I would have had a response to all this. I probably would have been able to push this back. You know, if I just go into a couple of gunslingers here, this is like so well pushed back. But the reality is that even if I do that, it wouldn't have mattered. And you want to know why it wouldn't have mattered? Well, let's just do a quick stock take right now from our purple player's perspective. I don't know how to select his units. Let's go here, player view. I don't know. Oh, so I don't know why I can't select the units. Anyway, he doesn't have a lot of aircraft at the moment. Okay, he's got a couple of, and to be fair, like the reason he doesn't have a lot of aircraft is because he's making gunships to try and help out, because the front is having a lot of trouble. But we're going to focus. We're just going to say, you know what? That's absolutely fine. We're just going to keep our eye on the prize. We've got our Marauders out, and now we're going to be able to start to oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, what is that? Yes, what is that? We're 13 minutes into this game, and that, my friend, is a very big mass of bombers that are coming in right now and are going to ruin my day. And not just my day, because that is so many aircraft. And we're just going to pause it because I just want to compare the pair before we go any further. This is the difference that a high TS player will make, or a high ranking player will make. And obviously we've got Vodka, and if you have a look at Vodka, he's done really well in that he's fought back on the water, almost pushing back his player that he had a disadvantage against. Whereas if you were to compare, say, we've got Quickster here who's on 906 energy, 38 metal, so not doing too badly over here, but then you compare it over to what Fatal Baguette is doing, and Fatal Baguette's on 1.5k energy with 52 metal, and obviously just a significantly greater air force, and this air force is subsequently leveraged to cause so much pain, so much suffering on the good men and women of the northern shores. Yeah, beautiful bombing run that came through from Baguette. So now the question is, how much damage can we do to the enemy? Because, you know, you might look at this game and you think, well, this is pretty over, right? Like, it's looking pretty bad. We got people talking about it. Everyone's blaming the backliners, saying this is where the backliners need to be good. But I mean, there's just way too many forces here at this point. It's kind of crazy. So this is where it gets exciting, because if you watch from the enemy perspective, they're getting all they see these units. You know what they call out? Look here. Hovers incoming. Hovers. Yeah. It is, let's just put it this way. It is something that they will live to regret, thinking that is hovers. So, what do I do in this situation? Well, I've got an APHIS left, so my main focus is just getting build power up right now. So I am throwing down a bot lab, a basic bot lab. You can see I've got absolutely nothing left at this point. I'm going to throw down a bot lab. I'm going to get out some construction bots, and I'm just going to try and put down as many con turrets as I can. I'm also going to try and make anti-air, because as you can see, this guy is still going absolutely crazy over here. Our air player just didn't really have a whole lot. So Hover's incoming bot once again gets called out. We can ride on board. You can see we've got only a handful of Marauders, right? Like this is not a lot of Marauders. 5 Marauders, and wait until you see just how much damage these guys do. It is kind of crazy just how much damage these things can do. They're so quick, and I think that's probably, you know what, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Marauders get nerfed, just because I feel like this strategy, maybe it's just because I'm at a lower level, but Marauder Russia is absolutely ridiculous. And now our allies, or our enemies, will eventually see these hovers and realize that it is not actually hovers. So the key here is that we want to try and hit every single player. So now it gets pinged. They realize that's not hovers, and you can see our team's calling for a resign. That's not hovers. So we're straight away targeting the geothermal. And we're just looking now. This guy could have D-gunned me. I don't think he realized that, but we're going to hit everything. So a little bit of a misplay from me. I saw the commander and I didn't move away from it, so a bit of a misplay. So 1 down, I say in the chat. So I'm basically just running into the enemy bases, trying to find whatever I can. I lose this guy as well to a D-gun, so not paying attention. And look, I'll get better with time, and you guys understand, but essentially what we're looking to do is just try and cause as much pain and suffering to as many people as we possibly can on the enemy team. That is very key. And so we're making sure that we are we're on the external side of the base, and we're just keeping it through. Now, this is my first time ever coming across these beam lasers, but these things, man, like, don't mess with the beam lasers, dude. Together with the pit bulls, those things are strong. Meanwhile, down at the bottom, we are just having a field day, so the enemy red player has now been, and you can even see right there, that's GG getting typed into the chat. They're not having a good time right now. Now back towards our base. As I said, my main focus here is just to work on construction turrets. That's all I want. I make a little bit of a mistake here on letting my Marauder get caught. I tried to come up around the top like that, but I went too close into the pitbull, and then back towards our base. So I think we're down to 2 Marauders at this stage. Let's see if we can ride on board. And so we've already forced 1 player to leave. Everybody else is still in the game at the moment, but we're doing a decent job at cleaning up. And keep in mind, the Marauders have got anti-air. So if they've got gunships or anything like that, you'll be easily able to deal with it. So we've taken out 1 player. Second player has been pretty well neutralized. We did leave a couple of little things back here for them, like they've got the metal extractor, and he can get back with that because he's got his commander as well. But obviously now we come up to the 3rd player, so we're looking to try and do damage to that. And remember, we always want to be looking for the specific buildings that are going to explode, that are going to cause explosions. And back towards our base, this is where I kind of realize, okay, this game may indeed be over. I'm just kind of chilling out. I'm microing here. I'm like focusing on my Marauders, and obviously there's a lot of stuff going on here, but we've taken out, I think that was the 3rd player. I look to come up to the 4th player. The front 2 are in a bit of a weird spot, and at this point, I've got no construction turret or no construction units left, so I need a construction unit. Now, fortunately, I've got an APHIS, which is insane, and I've also got my advanced metal extractor, so I can get back online by throwing down. So fortunately, I think Vodka's going to give me a construction unit, and then I'm going to throw down a whole bunch of construction turrets here. But it's at this point after I realize I probably haven't done enough damage that it's still not good game. And we're getting pushed in pretty badly at this point, right? Like, Pink has managed to take me out. He's going to begin putting pressure on towards the north. Down towards the south, we've got this push coming through from the Sheldons, which I always just want to call Mortys, because that's what they used to be called. And that's essentially it, because at this point, even though the scores look pretty even, if you take a look at the metal versus the metal energy versus metal energy, they're a little bit ahead, but definitely within distance. The problem is we don't really have any way to deal with this, and so I try to resign. I don't know how to resign, and I think that's Snayed saying back to me, "Nah, we're not resigning, man." But it was me trying to resign. I didn't know how to resign. Then I realized there's a button up in the top right. But anyway, what did I learn from this? So the thing that I learned from this is that if you're going to play in a position like this, which is a forward position, okay? I'm not playing in the safe little back pocket position. I'm playing in a forward position. I need to be even more cautious about the way that I build my base. Now, you would see that I am rather... I will tell you right now, I have autism. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and that's part of the reason why I always min-max in the games that I play, because if I don't do it, my brain won't function, because I will stay awake at night trying to work out how to do that. But essentially, I've got to put more space between my buildings, especially my construction turrets. So I'm going to be, doing some testing with that and try and work out what's the most optimal position, whether that's 1 tile space, 2 tile space. But that's essentially it, because I'm confident that it shouldn't really affect a whole lot of the timing. And at the end of the day, if a bombing run comes in like that and wipes you out 99%, that is significantly worse than wiping you out 40% or 50%. And that's the reality. When that bombing run came in, it was all over Red Rover. So I think overall, this strategy is still really, really good. I think that it's a bit reliant on teammates, and it's somewhat important to have teammates that are doing their role and doing it well. Because if there is a matchup, like as an example down here, where you've got a very high rating player against a player that's significantly lower than them, there will be an imbalance. The question is, how much will that imbalance influence the outcome of the game? Because at this point, Science has just kind of been relegated to the shoreline. He just chills out and says, well, I lost water, sorry guys. Whereas with Baguette has come through and killed absolutely everybody. And that's really what won them the game and what lost us the game, and that's essentially it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed the insight that I've been able to provide to you. I'm looking forward to providing more bar content. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe. It's something that I've never asked people to do before, but I'm probably going to start doing it a little bit more, because hey, at the end of the day, it helps the channel, it helps bar, and that's exactly what I want to be doing. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.